guys, today I want to talk to you about my favorite tree, the trembling aspen or quaking aspen, and its many uses for survival, long term and short term. Let's get at it. Okay guys, here I'm back. I tried to find a more sheltered space here because the wind picked up, so I'm a little bit lower in the valley now. I hope that's better, but anyway, we have trembling aspens here, right? So the trembling aspen, as you can see, is white, and a lot of people mistake it for birch trees, right? Because it's white. Especially a lot of Europeans do that. Yeah, but it's not. It really resembles a birch a little bit. Yeah, it also has those lines like the birch has and stuff, right? But it really doesn't have, you know, the birch-like bark. Yeah. The aspen you can usually pretty easy identify by those black spots where a branch broke off, right? And that really often looks a little bit like an eye. I don't know if you can see that right here like this, and here's a pupil. There's like kind of a little bit, I will show it, I think in a close-up, that's probably a little better. Okay, in a close-up you see the branch, and then you always have a little ridge running down next to the branches. Here's another one, you see a little bit here, a little bit there, and then you have somewhat a line here. And you have that usually on all the branches. Here's another one, you see that? You have a little triangle, right? And here's the branch. So if that one is completely gone, it looks from far away a little bit like an eye, right? That's how I recognize it. Here's another one, you see that? So that's kind of how you identify like one of those trees from afar, right? And there you see the leaves, right? And the leaves of the trembling aspen, they are quite unique. That's why it's called the trembling aspen. You see it now in the wind, how they flatter around. And they do that because those leaves are perfectly flat. You know, they don't have like many other leaves have, like a V shape or something like that. They have just a flat surface. Try to find some old ones here. Maybe you can see it better. Like when they get older, obviously they try to kind of curl up and stuff. But this one here you can see they're like perfectly flat, and there's not even really a vein going through from the little stem here to the top. They're like perfectly flat, and what that does is like they go in the wind like crazy. That's why they're called trembling aspen. You can see it there back on this one there where there's still some leaves on. So guys, and now we talked about how to identify this beautiful tree, and why do we need to do that? Well, we need to do that because this tree here has so many uses a lot of people are not even aware of. It was a really well-used tree by Native Americans in the plains. That's where this beauty grows. And yeah, I want to talk to you about those uses. I think I have 8, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, but first, let's talk about the places where you find those awesome trees. So usually you find them in the prairies, in the ravines, and they need a lot of moisture. Those will be close to moisture because they're related to the willow family. And yeah, then also if you see one of those trees, one of the things with the aspen is you will find many lots of them when you find one. That is because the tree multiplies also with rhizomes. Rhizomes, that's basically the roots. They go underground and they pop out some other place, and then a new tree grows. That's why trembling aspen patches are usually related. That's usually one organism, one plant. So if you look around and you find a big patch of aspen trees, then the chances are great all those aspen trees are one family and they all came from one tree. So the aspen doesn't grow long. You know, it's not a tree that gets really old, but they grow fast, and yeah, they usually don't grow really straight. They're always like a little cricket and twisted and turny. So you won't find like really nice straight logs on aspen if you want to build anything out of it. Like a log cabin or so, and then you have lots and lots of gas, that's for sure. Yeah, what else about this tree? Yeah, well, let's get to its uses now. Okay, so the first thing is the aspen tree is a really good food source for animals like deer, moose, elk. They love this tree in the winter and they chew on the bark. They eat the little saplings growing here and there, right? So what do you think? Why do those animals do that? Because there's something really nutritious and good behind this white bark, and that is the inner bark, the cambium layer. You know from other trees that the cambium layer is edible. The problem with a lot of those other trees is that the cambium layer, once you took it off, it has a more fibrous texture, right? You have a hard time biting it and chewing it, right? Because it's so fibrous, and therefore it's not really palatable and it's not really fun to eat. But this thing here is amazing. I will show you now why. We're going to take a little piece out of here, right, from the inner bark, and I want to say something for all you guys who take bark and want to try it now. When you do it after this video, you go out and you want to eat the trembling aspen bark, you can do that. Always take a small piece first, because you don't know if you will be allergic to anything like that, right? Second, do your research. Make sure that you have an aspen, a trembling aspen. Third, if you cut a piece out, anyway, no matter if it's a trembling aspen or any other tree, always do it facing the south side. Yeah, the tree needs to face the south side. Why? Because Mother Nature, the creator, he created plants in a way that they can defend themselves, right? But sometimes that's not enough. If I cut a big piece out of here, we would have a big wound, right? So bacteria viruses can attack the tree. But if you have it somewhat south facing, then the sun, yeah, will go up in the east, to the south, to the west, and like even now at night the sun is still hitting this spot, right? And the sun has UV rays, and UV rays kill bacteria and viruses. So the tree has a much bigger chance to survive after you took a piece out of it than if you would have done it on the north side. If you do it on the north side, there's no sun hitting it, and then there's more moisture, and where there's more moisture, there's more bacteria, and it's more likely that you will kill the tree. So that's what we don't want. And with any species where you take bark out, please do it on the south side. So I will take a piece out now, and then I show you how the inner bark looks. So this here is the outer bark. Okay, you see the green in there? The green stuff? So I get back to that in a few minutes after I showed you the other stuff. This is what you don't want. Don't want the green stuff. Okay? Put this aside. So you see here, there's a little brighter spot. Here it's still a little green, so we need to get this off. See? So you want to get to the brown layer. So, as much of the green stuff needs to be gone. So now you think like, oh, that's probably pretty thin or whatever. No, it's not. Just let me do my cutting. And there. Here. So now in the winter, you have a hard time getting it off. That's for sure, but it's possible. Okay, so hope you guys can see that. So now you see, sorry, so now you see the inner bark here, like the wood actually already. So you see that fibrous material. That's how cambium layer looks on a regular tree, right? But here we have, like you see this, and here is the fibers. If you get the fibers off, just like so, very careful, don't want to cut myself. So here you have it, right? Now watch this. You see that? How that crumbles? There's still some inner bark left here. But if you have that gone, you have this outer part, and that crumbles, right? So that is real good to eat. It is like literally you can chew it and it comes apart like granola. And now in the fall, if you get this green stuff off, the bark doesn't taste like much at first, yeah, but after a little bit of chewing, it is quite interesting taste. It tastes almost like oats, and everybody who likes oats will like aspen bark. It is bitter the first few minutes, but the more of the green stuff is on there, the more bitter it is. Because the green stuff has, what is the word in English? Salicylic acid in it. Yeah, so that's what it is, salicylic acid, I think. So, and that's a good piece, I'm gonna eat that. So, yeah, this bark here helped a lot of people through harsh winters. You can eat it as it is, and you can get really used to it. It is a really nice taste compared to other trees, and it's quite thick, so it's substantial. If you dry that now, let's say in the fall you pick a bunch of this and then you dry it, and then you crumble it and crush it into powder, because that's what you can do then. And then you can, for example, bake bread with it. That has been done in the past quite often. I haven't done it yet, but I want to do it. I want to do it in spring actually. And the reason why I want to do it in spring is because in spring the bark is actually sweet. It used to be a treat for Native Americans. So in the spring they would basically take the bark off, the inner bark, and yeah, eat it just like as it is, because it is really, really sweet in the spring and really nutritious and replenishes all your vitamins and mineral needs you were missing in the winter. So now we covered the most important part, right? That's food. Yeah, that's how the bark looks, and you see like how easy I can bite a piece off. And you go out there and try that with pine tree or any other cambium layer, and you will have a heck of a time to bite some off. But here it goes real good, right? And like I said, in your mouth it falls apart like granola, right? Yeah. Really easy to eat. I will put this in my pocket because I'm going to take that with me. So, okay. I think that was the first use, right? Okay, first use, food. Cambium layer, nice and tasty. I even taste a little bit sweet still now. Let's come to the second use. The second use is, I know that many of you people know that you can tap birch trees and that you can tap maple trees. Manitoba maple, the syrup maple, and the birch trees. You can also tap the aspen tree. Same time around in the spring. And the thing with the aspen tree is, a lot of people don't know, that you have actually a way higher yield. That means you need way less liquid in order to make 1 liter of syrup. Right? I think on a birch tree it's about 400 liters you need. something like that, to make a liter syrup, birch syrup. On that tree I think it's 40 liters. So it's way denser loaded with the sugars, that tree. That's why it's so sweet in the spring. So that was the second. The second is that you can make nice and tasty syrup or drink the sap as it is in spring. Let's come to another use of it. There's another use, and as I said in the beginning, they're related to willow trees. And willow trees have in their defense mechanism for pests, viruses and things, they have something in their bark, the salicylic acid. I hope I pronounce that right. English is not my native tongue. But basically what that is the ingredient aspirin is made from. So if you have something like Tylenol, aspirin and stuff like that, in there is a salicylic acid, and it comes from trees like that. I'm pretty sure nowadays they're going to make it artificial. But in the past it came from trees like that, from the aspen tree, from willow trees, a bunch of other ones I guess. But yeah, so that means that the outer bark, the green layer in here, the green stuff, yeah, don't eat the green stuff. If you eat the green stuff from that bark, then you basically eat aspirin. And if you eat too much from that, what happens then to you? You overdose on aspirin, and that's not good for you. But nature is awesome. When you're sick and you have fever and you get some sort of a cold and things like that, and then you can come and you take your knife, right? And maybe there's this piece here, so I don't need to cut further on the tree. Yep, there. Then you take this piece, right? And you take the white bark off, and you get the green stuff from underneath. Yeah? And when you have that green stuff and you eat that, that's really bitter. That's because of this acid in there. And yeah, you will become better. Your fever goes down, you know, your runny nose might stops, whatever. Yeah, so that's the outer bark, the green bark. Okay, so the brown layer is what you eat. The green layer is what you eat when you're sick. So I think there's many other uses medicinally for that thing too, but I can't remember them and I don't want to say anything false, and that's why I shut up. Okay, next one. What we had now? 1, 2, 3, right? That's number 4. Okay, number 4. The bark. Again, it's all about the bark. You see the bark is white. So when I will show this close up in a second. When you go to a really white part like this here, you can scrape this white powder. There's a white powder on it. You can scrape it off. See, that's how it looks like. It's kind of loose on there. You don't need to apply force. You can really, you can rub it off with your finger too. You see, you get a white finger. It's just a powder, so you get it on your hand. You see, just like that. So, what is this powder? This powder consists out of yeast cultures. This is yeast, the white powder. You can take this powder off when you don't have yeast to bake a bread. You scrape this off, you mix this in your bread, and your bread will become big and fluffy like you never seen before. True story. So, that is number 4. What's it for? Bark, medicine, powder, sap. 4. Okay. So what else? The same powder. Yeah. You go out and in the prairies here, you're in open land and you don't want to get a sunburn, right? You have a little bit of a problem with hair like I do here on the top, right? And you don't have a hat, then you're prone to get a sunburn. So what can you do? You take this white powder off like this, and then you put it on your face and on your nose and wherever you think you can get a sunburn. And you don't need much on there, just a little bit of a covering, and then it's all good. Okay? You look maybe a little funny, I don't know how I look now, but this protects you from sunburn. It's a sunscreen, a natural sunscreen, and you find it right out in nature. You don't need any freaking creams where some fucking substances leach into your skin and make you sick in the long run. So, that was number 5. So that was number 5, right? Now we have number 6. And number 6 is actually, you can obviously burn that wood, right? So you find a dead one, and because they burn way better. Yeah, you find a dead one, and usually in an aspen patch you find a lot of dead trees because, as I said in the beginning, they don't grow to be old. They die early, but therefore there's lots of other ones, right? And there's also lots of dead ones, and they're just perfect for firewood because they burn really good and really clean. They don't have a bad smell when they burn, and the wood burns really good, and natives used it, I use it too, to smoke my meat. So there's another thing you can do with it. So that would have been, let's say this is number 6. Number 6 is you can smoke meat with it, because the smoke has in its composition a chemical I can't pronounce, and what it does, it's a natural preservative. So it preserves your meat. It makes it longer lasting than smoking it with any other trees. And never smoke your meat with some like resinous stuff like pine or something. That's a no-no, right? Yeah. So that would have been number 6. So number 7 is burning. You can obviously burn it. So it's good firewood. It burns decently long, not the longest, but decently long and decently hot, and also it doesn't create much smoke. Yeah. The punk wood obviously does for smoking, but I mean regular when you make a fire. You don't have a big smoky fire with it. It's actually when the meat is nice and when the wood is nice and dry, then you don't have much problems with big black billowing smoke or anything like that. And it's more pleasant to sit at the campfire. What was that? 7, right? Okay, 7. Now we would need to have number 8. So number 8 with this tree, after the fire you have leftovers, right? And the leftover is called ashes. So when you take the aspen ashes, you can use the aspen ashes as baking powder. Natives used that extensively when they made bread or bannock or whatever they call that. Use the ashes as baking powder. So you can use the ashes of that tree for baking powder. So there was 8 uses. Is there anything else? Yeah, there's one more. This is one I never found in educational books or videos or anything like that. When I learned about this tree and did research on this tree back in the days. In fact, about 6 or 7 years ago, I mistaken this tree for a birch tree as well, because I am from Europe. For me, there was a birch tree. So I wanted to make birch tar, right? Distill the birch tar out. So I took the bark off, put it in a pot, built a fire around it, and distilled the oil out, as I thought. But there was no oil. What there was like a liquid, like, I would say it's more like water, but maybe a little oily, and it stinks like hell, right? It has a really nasty stink to it. But on this knife sheath here, this one, yeah, I used it to rub it into the leather, and it's an awesome tannin, as I found out. So it actually made this piece of leather nicely brown, and yeah, kind of like, oh, sorry, kind of like the leather is nice and smooth, and it is totally water repellent as well. So maybe that is another use, but I found out like accidentally, and maybe one of you guys want to try it too and recreate it. I wish you fun, because that stuff stinks. I mean, it's still kind of, you can still smell it. It smells like a campfire somebody pissed in or so. But yeah, it protects my blade, so who cares? This was the 8 + 1 uses of the aspen tree, the trembling aspen. I hope you really enjoyed the little tutorial about my friends, the aspen trees. And if you did, then please don't hesitate and leave a like, a subscription and a comment. I love to read comments of you guys. And until then, just stay sane in this crazy world. Go in the woods, because those are our friends there, right? They help us, they are alive, and they have a soul. I guarantee you that. Okay, I see you in the next video. Catch you later. No guys, this is not a trailer. This is a little other tutorial. I just decided to kick in here into that other video, because look what I found here. You see those little berries? This is western snowberry. And western snowberry, they turn kind of bluish in the fall, right? And they're considered poisonous berries, okay? But they're actually highly medicinal. If you are out and about and you have a really like allergy kind of thing going on, stuffed nose, you know, all your cavities are stuffed and full of gunk and shit and whatnot, right? You can take 5 of those berries, right? And then you can do, I do 1 now, just that you see that I'm not lying. You take those berries, you don't chew them, you just swallow them, okay? And what happens after 20 minutes or so, your cavities in your sinuses and stuff, they clear up. This berry has an anti-inflammatory kind of yeah, or almost like an antihistamine property. And the doses is like about you need 5 berries a grown-up person. For children, I would say I don't recommend it. And if you take those berries, like I said, always make sure and make your own research what you have and how you can use it. And take a small amount first. Never take a big amount. Always a small amount, and you try first how does it help you? Does it do anything? Do you feel shitty afterwards or not? Right? Just a little bit. They are white berries, and white berries are usually poisonous. And when you choose those berries here, what happens then is you have a complete numb mouth. If you take like 5 berries and you chew that, you can actually use it if you have toothache or so. You chew those berries and they numb your whole mouth for like an hour or so. It's like you've been at the dentist. Just a little tip on the side here, just because I came across one. And I thought I show that to you now, because now they're still visible. In a couple of weeks we have like probably 3 feet snow here, and then I can show them no more. Okay. There was a bald eagle, guys. Crazy. There's another one. Wow. Awesome. I see that guy. A little fat beaver having its meal. Sorry that I'm too shaky here on the camera, but zooming it in. See if I can get closer. Let's see if I can call him. He's coming. See, he came towards this area. Came straight for me. He's somewhere in the water. They back off. Sometimes they run out of the water and start biting. But I'm thinking he's right now on the right side here. Somewhere there. Here is this mighty lodge. Look at this. Look at all this stuff here got together. Phenomenal. Those animals. Look what he did with the forest here. Look at this. Like this whole pathway here. That's all the beaver. It's one guy. Look at what he's done. Here you can see the drag marks where he dragged all the branches over there to build his mighty lodge. Look at this. It looked like there was humans in here with a chainsaw. That's an amazing animal. That's crazy. But that's a good spot for me in a year or so. We're gonna set up here some bushcraft with some guys, and in the winter, because there will be a lot of dead logs. Don't need to saw, nothing, and we can make fire. Look, real pathway here. But also dangerous in the winter is this. This is underneath the snow then. And if you stumble on one of those and you fall on one of those, you're done. I said this already in another video. Because you get impaled on one of those. That's amazing. Look, here the pathway goes right down into the water. And there he was. It's just the water. You can see that's where he started diving. Beavers are amazing. Yeah. In the 7 teachings of the natives, the beaver stands for wisdom. Right? And wisdom is actually using the skills you have. Everybody is born with a skill. Everybody of us. And the beaver is the first guy after a fire. When a fire ripped through an area, the beaver comes. There he is. See him? It's a small one. It's a baby beaver. How cute. Yeah. It's Amik the beaver in Ojibwe. It's so funny. He comes out now. And I'm standing here and talking. I'm in full view. It's a baby beaver, it's a small one. And there's Mama. Or another one. Awesome. Yeah. The beaver is the first guy who comes after fire, takes the old trees down and builds lodges and brings water back in the area. And builds up the landscape so all the other animals can come and can do their job. And then, like, water is back, trees grow back, dense bushes, and then the deer come, and the moose, and all those animals come back then. And after that, the bears and the wolves. But the first is a beaver. And the beaver has his teeth, and if he stops using his skills, right, if that's just like humans, if the beaver stops using his teeth, so his skill, his gift, if he stops using it, they will grow so big that he will die. He needs to chew constantly to grind those teeth down. Otherwise they will just grow. And then he will die. And the same as with humans. When we don't use our skills, for our community, for our friends, for our people, right? To create things is the gift you have. Like my gift is I'm a metal guy, I'm really creative, I build crazy, awesome things for people in their homes. If I don't do that, I get sick, right? I don't feel well, and I get depressed, right? Eventually I maybe die. And that's the same thing. That's why the beaver stands for wisdom with the natives. Because the beaver uses his wisdom to create for the others, for the community, for the other people. We can learn much from nature, people. By the way, you see this red stuff back there? That's red oisel dogwood. I'll make a video about that probably another time. Because that's really useful stuff as well. Okay guys, I go home now. I leave those little beavers alone. It's amazing, look at this. Look at this big pile of wood. You know? It's crazy. And you see how big this little beaver was. Right? And they do all this. They do all this, chop this all down. Crazy guys. Where do I go now? The best way. I think best way is up there. See you little beavers. I will be back. This path here is from the buffalo. They tend to go along this river and up the hills. When I came in, today I seen the buffalo way back there. We have the wind coming from that direction as well. And by the wind I can usually tell where they are in the valley. Because buffalo always hike into the wind every day. If you know where the wind is blowing the opposite direction, you will find the buffalo. Yeah.